Hey guys, welcome to Charger Games. This is Raja and this is another Unity 2D racing game tutorial. So this is a video probably a lot of you been waiting for, and I got a lot of requests for this. So in this video we're finally gonna move our car by using two touch buttons. So we will use two buttons on left and right, and we'll move our car by using that button. So I hope you guys are excited. So let's get started. So first of all, let us go ahead and create two buttons right here. So I'm gonna go to create. Okay, I'm gonna go to inside this canvas. I'm gonna select this canvas. So create UI button, and this is the button that has been created. Okay, that's okay. Now select this tool so that we can move the button. So we're gonna select this tool and let's move the button right here, and let's resize it a bit so that it becomes useful for us. I think this should be good enough. Okay, so I think this should be good enough, and let's click on this triangle right here, and from the text you're gonna go ahead and delete this text, and instead of that we're gonna use this text. Okay, so that I'm not using any image, so I'm just using it as a sign of our left sign, so that it thinks like this button will move the car to the left. Okay, let's make it a bit more small. Not the text, not the text. Select the button and make it a bit more small. I think this should be good. Okay, and make the text a bit bigger. Let's say I'm gonna make the font size. Let's click on best fit, and it'll automatically fit for the best size. Okay, so this should be good. Now for the button color, click on the button, and for the color, let's select the same green color that we have selected before. So I think this should be good. And for the text color, let's select white. So for the text color, select white, and this looks cool. Now what you're gonna do is, now we need to add some events to this button so that this button can handle whenever we click it. Now previously we have learned about on-click events, where we click the button and the event triggers, and the event happens and the things happens. But here the on-click event will not work, since we want to continuously press the button, and we want to move the car continuously whenever we have pressed the button, and whenever we release the button we need to make the velocity of the car 0. So on-click events will not work here. So instead of that, what you're going to be doing is we're going to use something called event trigger. So I'm going to select the button right here, and from here I'm going to select add component, event, and click on event trigger. Okay, so we have added an event trigger to it. Now one more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to now click on add new event type, click on that, and from here I'm going to click on this pointer down event. So what this will do is this pointed down event will be triggered whenever we have clicked the button. Okay, we have pressed the button whenever the pointed down event will be called, and we need to add one more. We need to add this pointer up event. So when we have pressed the button, the pointer down event will be triggered, and when we have left the button, or when we have left our finger from the button, this pointer up event will be triggered. Okay, so inside this pointer down, let's click on this plus sign, and now as you can see, as we have done before, similarly we also have here a slot where we can add a game object, and we can use the functions from that game object, or from the scripts that has been attached to this game object. Okay, so before we do anything, first of all we need to write the scripts, or write the code in the scripts that we can use here. Okay, so in order to do that, let's open our car controller script. This is our car controller script, and inside that I'm gonna make few public variables, public functions. So first of all, let's create a public function, public void, and I'm gonna name this function move left. So this function will help to move the car left. The same way, I'm gonna create another function. Let's copy this and let's create another function, and I'm gonna I'm sorry, I'm gonna name this move right. And same way, let's one more time paste it, and I'm gonna name it set velocity 0. Okay, so we have 3 functions, and make sure to keep these functions public, otherwise we'll not be able to call these functions from our events. Okay, so we have made these functions public, and in the move left function we will add code which will help our car to move left. In the move right function we'll add code which will move the car right, and in the set velocity 0 function we'll add code so that the velocity of the car becomes 0 and it stops moving. Okay, so now in order to do that, one more thing we're going to do is we're going to add a rigid body 2D component to this car. So if we add a rigid body 2D component to the car, then we'll be able to easily move the car left and right just by setting the velocity to a value, and then we'll be able to stop the car by just setting the velocity to 0. Okay, so we're gonna select the car, and I'm sorry, I have added this from before, and from here we're gonna add component physics 2D rigid body 2D, and we're gonna make the gravity scale 0. Okay, make the gravity scale 0. So now we have a rigid body 2D attached to the car. Now we have to access this rigid body 2D from our script. And if we want to use this rigid body 2D from a script, first of all we need to create a variable of type rigid body 2D. So let's create rigid body 2D and let's name it RB. And in the await function we can get access to that rigid body 2D component by using RB equals get component, and inside that we want to write what type of component we want. Since we wanted a component of type rigid body 2D, so inside this we want to write rigid body 2D, and then we want to end the function. Now I have already created a tutorial on this get component function, and there I have elaborately described or explained how to use this get component function and how to get access to these components which are attached here. So if you feel like this is confusing, and if you feel like this is making you confused, so make sure to check out the video. I'll probably give a link. That link will probably go on the screen right now, or probably you will get that in the description. So make sure to check that out if you feel it's confusing. Okay, so now we have access to this rigid body right here. Now we can easily make the velocity, we can put a velocity to this rigid body and make the car move. Okay, so we're gonna move the car right, or we're gonna give the car a positive velocity in the move right function. So in the move right function we're gonna write RB dot velocity. So we're gonna give our rigid body a velocity so that it moves, and then we're gonna write equals, and since it's a vector 2, so we're gonna need to create a new vector 2. So we write new vector 2, and for the x value we're gonna write car speed. It's a variable that we have created, it's a variable that we have created before. And for the y we're gonna give 0, since we don't want this car to be moved in the y direction. We want it to be moved only in the x direction. Okay, so that is why we have given the x value car speed, and in the y value we haven't given any value. So we need to do the same thing when we want the car to move left. So let me go ahead and copy this thing and paste it right here. So here, since we want to move the car to left, so only thing we need to do is we need to make the car speed negative. Okay, so the same thing in move right, we're gonna make the car speed positive, and we wanna move the car to the right direction. So that is why we're gonna make the x component to the car speed and put the value in the velocity component of the rigid body of the car. Okay, clear? And in the move left function we do the same thing, but just put the value of x negative so that it moves on the left direction. Okay, clear? And in the set velocity 0 function, we're gonna set rb dot velocity equals, and we're gonna set it to 0. An easier way to set it to 0 is to write vector2 dot 0. Okay, so now we have pretty much done all the coding we needed for this tutorial. So first of all, we have created a rigid body 2D variable. Then we have got access to that. We have got access to the rigid body 2D by using getComponent function, and we have stored that inside this RV variable. And using that RV variable, we are setting the velocity to our car speed when move left, and doing the same thing when we are moving right. And in this function, we are setting the velocity to 0 so that the car stops moving. Okay, so we have pretty much done that. Now we need to figure out how we can call that function whenever we press this button. Okay, whenever we press this button, we need event to be triggered, and that's how we need to call that function. So let's select this button, and let's rename this button to left. Okay, so rename this to left, and as you can see, we have already added this event trigger to here. Now here you can see on pointer down function we have this none written here. So here we need to add a game object from which we're gonna access these functions that we want. So since this game object, or since these functions are attached to this car controller script, and this car controller script is added to the car, so we need to add the car from where we will be able to access these functions. Okay, so let's select the car and drag this here. So now we have the car here, and we can access all the functions that are inside the script of car controller from here. So from here, let's click on this one, and from here just go to car controller. This is the script of the car, and from that, since we have the left button here, so we need to use this move left function. So just go and click on that. Now you can see that when we click the left button, this car controller.move left event will be triggered, or this car controller.move left function from here will be called. Okay, so let's test this out. Let's run this, and as you can see, our car is moving. Oops, it just got destroyed. So let me try it one more time. Let's see, our car is moving, and if I press it, you can see that our car moves left. Okay, so now one thing we need to do is, as you can see that if we click here, okay, probably I need to delete some code somewhere. I have messed something up. You don't need to worry about that. That's the test code I written previously. So as you can see, when I run it, press it, as you can see, the car keeps moving on the left and it never comes back. Okay, the car keeps moving on the left and it never comes back. So since we have set the velocity to a value, we also need to set the velocity to 0 whenever we lift our finger from the button. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to add a pointer up event. As I have said before, that a pointer up event is triggered whenever we have left our finger from the button. So here we need to add a new event. Click on this plus sign, and the same way we need to drag the car here, and the same way from here we need to go to car controller, and we need to select this set velocity 0 function. Remember this set velocity 0 function where we are setting the velocity of the car to 0. So this is very simple. Let me put it this way. This event will be triggered, and when the pointer will be down, or the finger will be down on the button, this event will be called and the car will move left. And when the finger will be up, or when I lift my finger, this pointer up event will be called, and this velocity car controller, the set velocity 0 function is called, and the velocity of the car is set to 0. So the car stops moving. So in the simple way, we can say that when this function gets called, and when this trigger gets called, the car keeps moving left, and when this gets called, the velocity becomes 0. Okay, simple enough. Now one more thing we need to do is the same way we have added the left button, the same way we need to add the right button, which will move the car to the right direction. Okay, so that is why I haven't created the button here. I haven't created that button till now, so that I can just duplicate it and all those features come automatically here and you don't need to do it one more time. Okay, so thank me for that. So click on right click here and click on duplicate, and as you can see we have one more button here. Let's rename this button to right, and by selecting it, let's drag this button on the right direction. Okay, I need to keep it the same position. Okay, I think this should be good. Now one more thing we need to do is we need to change the text. So click on text, and from here just change the text to the greater than sign instead of less than sign. So now it says that it will make the car move to the right direction. Okay, so now one more thing we need to do is from the car, as you can see, all these components have been attached previously since we have just duplicated that. So it's an easy way to do these things and save our time. Since we have duplicated that, so all these things from the left button has come right here to the right button. Okay, so now we need to make few changes here. One thing is from the car controller, we need to select this move right function instead of the move left, since we want the car to move right. So select that, and the same way, okay, we don't need to change anything here because when the pointer up, we want the velocity of the car to be 0. So this is the only change that you need to make. Just instead of move left, just make the function move right, and you are done. So now if I run this game, as you can see, if I click here, the car moves left. Okay, if I click here, the car moves left. If I click here, the car moves right. Okay, so it works. I am doing it on my mouse, so it's not working pretty much good. But if you do it in touch screen, it will work the same. So the button will work everywhere. And since we have called this function on pointer up, so the velocity of the car becomes 0 whenever we are putting our finger or lifting our finger from the button. Okay. Now one more thing we need to do is this. When you run the game, and if you click on this, as you can see, the car moves left and there is nothing to stop that. Our method.clamp function doesn't work here since we are using a new input method. So we need to do something so that the car doesn't move beyond this. Okay, we need to freeze the movement here. In order to do that, we need to go to the car control. We need to go to the update function, and in the update function, we have already this code written. We have already this code written here, which we have done for our keyboard inputs. As you can see, for the keyboard inputs, we have done this position.x equal to method.clamp. So we are clamping the value between -2.2 and 2.2, and then we are putting the value in position. So all we need to do is we need to copy this and paste it here, so that it gets called always. Since we always want the car to be between -2.2 and 2.2, whether it is touch input, whether it is keyboard input, whether it is accelerometer input, we want always the car to be within these things, within these bounds. So we want this code to be called always. So this will be out of all conditions, and this will be called from the update everywhere, every time. Now one more thing we need to do is, before this, we need to just write position equals transform dot position. Okay, so what we are doing is here, first of all, we are storing in each and every frame, we are storing the current position, whatever may be the current position of the car, we are storing that inside this temporary position vector2 variable. Then we are clamping the value or limiting the value of that x between 2.2 and 2.2, and we are again reassigning that position to this transformed position. Okay, if you don't do this, then the car or the script will not able to know about the current position of the car. Okay, so if we want the script to know about, if we want this thing to be correct, so we need to access this, and we need to know the current position of the car every frame, since the position changes every frame. So we need to know the current position, change the current position, and put it right back into the transformed position. Okay, so now if I go ahead and click on that, as you can see, now if I try to move beyond that, it doesn't move beyond that, and that is the limiting. This is the limit. You can change the limit and make it whatever you want. So we have done almost whatever we wanted to do in this video. Now one more thing, this is the last thing I can say, that you can see that we have an error here. We have a null reference exception or missing reference exception. It says that the rigid body 2D has been destroyed, but you are still trying to access it. So what happening is that in the game, whenever the car collides with these enemies, we are destroying the car. And since a rigid body 2D is attached to the car, so that is why this rigid body 2D is also getting destroyed, and that is why we're getting this error. So one thing you can do is, instead of destroying the rigid body 2D, or instead of destroying the car, we can just disable the car. Okay, so in the update, in the on collision enter 2D function, you can see that here we are destroying the car. Whenever we have a collision with the enemy car, we are destroying the car. So instead of that, what we can do is we can say game object dot set active false. Okay, so instead of destroying the game object, we are just deactivating it from the scene so that we cannot see it anymore. So now if I go here, just remove the error, and if I run it now, and if I just collide with anything, as you can see, now we don't have any error, since we have just deactivated the car. As you can see, the car is still there, but it is grayed and it is not activated. Okay, it is not activated in the scene. So this is how you remove the error. So this is the end of pretty long tutorial. So I hope you guys enjoyed the whole video we have done, and this was actually a lot of people wanted to make this thing for a lot of time. So hope it helped you guys. So if it helps, just let me know, and if you have any problems, just let me know. So thank you guys for watching, and in the next videos we will learn more ways to take inputs from our device. As I've said, that I will try to show all the ways in which you can take inputs. So in this video we have tried to take input by using buttons. In the next videos we will try to take inputs by using touches without buttons, only touches on the device. And later on we will try to take inputs by using the accelerometer, so that you can move the car by rotating your Android device. Okay, so all these things will come. Hope you guys are super excited, and hope you guys are learning a lot from you. I am learning a lot from you too. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, because that makes me happy. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. See you in next video. So have a awesome day.